The purpose of prophecy. Hello, and a very warm and heartfelt welcome to our channel. Today, we are going to explore a truly fascinating and deeply meaningful subject, biblical prophecy. But what exactly is a prophecy? Is it merely someone who can foresee or predict what will happen in the future? Or is there a much deeper, more significant, and profound meaning behind it that often goes unnoticed? Can anyone be considered a prophet? And what about women? Can they be? The Bible provides clear and inspiring examples of this. And in this video, we are going to explore every important detail so that you can understand it in a clear, comprehensive, and engaging way. Before we dive into this subject, make sure to leave a like, share this video with your friends, family, and loved ones, and subscribe to the channel so that you do not miss any of the carefully prepared content and insights we have planned for you in the near future. Let us begin by gaining a deeper understanding. Prophecy is not merely about predicting future events. In reality, its role is much more profound and far-reaching. It is a divine form of communication, a sacred way to convey God's will, guide humanity, and provide instruction not only to entire nations or communities, but also to specific individuals, helping them find the correct path in alignment with God's divine purpose. But do prophets still exist today? Are there individuals among us capable of receiving and transmitting this divine connection? The Bible shows us that prophecy is far more complex, rich, and profound than most people imagine. Many assume that prophecy is solely about foreseeing or predicting future events. However, if we examine the scriptures carefully, from the Pentateuch all the way to the books of the prophets, we realize that the true mission of a prophet was far deeper, more spiritual, and more transformative than mere prediction. The primary role of a prophet was not to guess or foretell future events, but to teach, guide, warn, and reveal the righteous path in accordance with God's will, helping humanity understand what truly pleases the Creator. Prophecy as a form of divine communication. Prophecy is essentially a direct and intimate form of communication between the Creator and humanity. This divine communication can be intended for all of humanity, a particular nation, or even a single individual. One of the most striking examples of this is the prophet Jonah. God entrusted Jonah with an extraordinary and highly significant mission: to warn the city of Nineveh, whose inhabitants were not Israelites, that their sinful ways would inevitably lead them to destruction, unless they sincerely repented. Jonah hesitated, possibly out of fear, doubt, or concern about the consequences for the people of Israel, but God persisted. "Go and prophesy." Jonah obeyed, and he faithfully delivered God's divine message. To his amazement, the people of Nineveh listened attentively, repented sincerely, and were saved from destruction. This story demonstrates clearly that prophecy is not merely about predicting future events. It is about revealing the will of God, providing an opportunity for redemption, and allowing individuals and communities to change their path. The same principle applies to Jeremiah, who tirelessly warned the people of Israel about the impending destruction that would occur if they did not return to the righteous path. The focus was never simply on predicting the future, but on demonstrating that God's will was not being fulfilled, and that ignoring his guidance would inevitably bring suffering and severe consequences. Therefore, the true and lasting value of prophecy lies in transmitting God's message, guiding humanity, revealing what is right and wrong, and leading people along the path that aligns with the Creator's intentions and divine desires. Moses, the greatest of all prophets. When discussing prophecy, we cannot overlook Moses. He is regarded as the greatest of all prophets, because his communication with God reached an unparalleled level of clarity, depth, and spiritual intimacy. Moses' prophecy stands as the most important message ever delivered to humanity, revealing in the clearest, most detailed, and profound way the will of God for all people. The Creator selects individuals of exceptional spiritual capacity as instruments for his divine message. For this communication to be genuine, uncorrupted, and faithful to God's truth, a prophet must be just, wise, morally upright, and resistant to human corruption. According to Maimonides, a true prophet must possess profound knowledge of God, deep emotional intelligence, and an elevated level of spiritual awareness, dedicating their entire life to sincerely and wholly connecting with the Creator and faithfully transmitting his divine will. Conditions necessary to be a prophet. It is not enough to be merely wise, just, or knowledgeable to become a prophet. Emotional and spiritual conditions are equally essential. For example, Jacob did not receive divine communication while believing that his son, Joseph, was dead because his deep grief and sorrow, blocked the spiritual connection with God. A prophet must maintain a positive, receptive, and spiritually open state to receive and accurately transmit God's message. Prophecy can manifest in various ways. Some prophets, like Samuel, received God's communication spontaneously and without preparation, while others needed dedicated preparation, meditation, prayer, or specific spiritual rituals to connect with the divine. David, for instance, often entered the proper spiritual state through singing, music, and heartfelt worship, elevating his consciousness and fully opening himself to receive God's divine communication. False prophets. The Bible also offers stern warnings about false prophets. These individuals speak in God's name, but their messages are false and deceptive, potentially leading people away from the path of righteousness. Frequently, they emerge to please the masses, deny important divine warnings, or alter God's commandments for personal gain. The danger posed by false prophets is immense. Unsuspecting and naive individuals might follow their guidance, unknowingly straying from the true will of God. The history of prophecy. Throughout history, many prophets appeared, including Joshua, Nathan, Ezekiel, Deborah, Jael, and numerous others. However, only those whose messages retained lasting spiritual relevance and enduring lessons for humanity were recorded in the sacred texts. Additionally, there were groups known as the Sons of the Prophets, who dedicated themselves to rigorous spiritual preparation in order to reach higher levels of divine communication. The final prophets of this era operated during the early Second Temple period, including Haggai, Malachi, and Azariah. After their time, prophecy essentially ceased, awaiting renewal only with the arrival of the Messiah. This cessation occurred because, although righteous individuals existed, the delicate balance of human free will and the natural inclination toward idolatry necessitated that God largely suspend prophecy. The legacy of prophecy. When prophecy ceased, humanity was compelled to rely more heavily on reason, intellect, and philosophy in its search for truth. Consequently, countless philosophers arose in Israel and other cultures, seeking to understand the mysteries of life and the universe without direct divine communication. The most important aspect of studying prophets and their stories is not merely to marvel at miracles or extraordinary events, but to truly understand the messages they conveyed. God's will, the distinction between right and wrong, and the principles for living a life that honors the Creator. Prophets were divine instruments, chosen to guide humanity through wisdom, justice, and profound spiritual connection with God. Therefore, prophecy is not simply about predicting the future. It is about transmitting God's will, guiding humanity, teaching right from wrong, and illuminating the path that pleases the Creator. Moses, Samuel, Jeremiah, Deborah. Each prophet fulfilled their mission faithfully, yet all shared one common trait: a remarkably elevated spiritual level and a deep, unbreakable connection with God. And you, have you ever reflected on how God's message continues to reach humanity today, even without active prophets walking among us? If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. May God abundantly bless you, your loved ones, and your family. We will see you next time.